Acting Director Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
You bet.
So, sir, the President of the United States tweeted on Monday evening, next week, ICE will begin the process of removing the millions of illegal aliens who have illicitly found their way into the United States. They will be removed as fast as they are coming in. What did he mean by that, sir?
So the message has been very clear. What he's trying to do is restore and ensure that we maintain integrity in the system and enforce the rule of law. Look, we know there are millions of people in this country that are here illegally, and we need to start enforcing consequences. That's really what it is. We're trying not to overcomplicate this. From my perspective as the ICE director, if you are here illegally in violation of federal immigration law, there should be consequences. We should support and enforce the rule of law. If we don't, there's no integrity in the system. And as a law enforcement officer, I don't think the American people would want me to exempt a certain class. So if you're here illegally, we will apply consequences and enforce the rule of law.
How soon can we expect this operation to begin?
So I think also it shouldn't be surprising from a law enforcement perspective. I'm not going to divulge the
Right.
dates and times of the operation, but I promise you we're going to start doing it soon.
Well, sir, so you had previewed before about how ICE will begin targeting families. Now, you've said previously that we're going to be doing that with compassion and with humanity. Just talk about some of the ways in which ICE will be going about that direct operation against these families.
Right. So that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So we've already done that. The American people need to know that we have given them an immense amount of due process. We've worked with the Department of Justice to set up an expedited docket to get them in front of the line. We ensured that they had access to interpreters, to legal counsel. They knew where they were supposed to go and when they're supposed to come to court dates. And guess what? Over 90% didn't even show up.
Right.
So then we continued, I think, with that humanity in a compassionate way. We sent them letters of where they said they lived, and we said, hey, look, you've had an order of removal from a judge, so come on into the ICE facilities, work with us. We'll give you 30 days or so to work with you, to get your affairs together, and then we're going to support you to return you back to your family. And 97% just totally rejected that letter.
So of those 90%, those are the people who are eligible for deportation under this operation, what the president was talking about.
That's absolutely correct. They've received entire due process. They've had every opportunity to state their case, and a judge has found that their claim was false or invalid, and they have a final order of removal. And we've tried numerous attempts to have them comply with the law. Those are individuals that we will be prioritizing.
So the intent on this, you've said before, is to send a message. What type of message are we sending?
One is that we must maintain integrity of the system. The second one is we must support the rule of law. The other big one is there's no greater incentive for these individuals to keep coming, to take the perilous trek, to put their children at risk, than they know once they get here, they get to stay, and we won't enforce the rule of law. There's no other greater incentive besides that they're also looking for a job. And so we need to send that message, support the rule of law, maintain integrity in the system, but send that message that if you come here illegally and your claim is found to be fraudulent, you will be removed. Well, if we do that, you're going to see the numbers go down.
Director, the president also threatened Mexico with tariffs. He signed a new deal with Mexico. Have we seen a substantive decrease in the number of illegal arrivals at the U.S. southern border since that deal was struck?
So I think so. And here's what's important. So I'm not an economist. I'm a law enforcement professional. But what I can tell you is we've been working with Mexico for decades, and they have, for the most part, remained on the sidelines the whole time. And what I can tell you is, as soon as the president threatened tariffs, then all of a sudden they came to the table to agree to secure their southwest border, their southern border, to increase law enforcement, interior enforcement operations, and help us with asylum. They've started to do that. They're deploying elements to all three of those agreements that they said they would do, and we are seeing the numbers slowly go down.
So part of what that we were demanding is that they act upon intelligence that we were sharing with them. Have you seen that, given your capacity working with the HSI investigations here at ICE?
So I can tell you that intelligence is continue to be shared, and we are seeing the fruits of that labor. I'll give you an example. So right now I'm sending HSI agents from ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, down to the border to actively pursue and investigate what we're calling fake families, individuals who are coming across with a child that isn't their own and presenting themselves as fake families, because they know, everyone knows, is if you grab a child, that's like a U.S. passport into the country. Once you get here, you won't be touched. It's horrendous. The examples should really make every American pause. A 51-year-old Honduras man who bought a child for $80, drugged the child so it would remain quiet, waded across the Rio Grande River to present himself as a fake family. It's absolutely horrendous.
What are the results that we're seeing with the DNA testing? I know that DNA testing has been put in at the border. We've seen some of those hits actually turn up rapists and other criminals wanted for crimes here in the United States. What are the results that we've seen on the border with the DNA testing?
So the results, and keep in mind, it's been a small pilot, but the results have already been tremendous. Of the individuals that we identified as potential fraudulent families, we're seeing between 15 to 20% they're actually fake families. Add on considerable amount of fake documents that we're finding as well. The Department of Justice have come on as true partners. We have about 410 cases we're prosecuting right now. It's just been tremendous. And DNA has been an integral part of that, not just substantively with the DNA test, but it's a great investigative tool. We're actually hearing now that we're making a difference, that now down the Northern Triangle countries, they're saying, hey, you know, you can still come to the United States with a kid, but it just has to be your own kid. That's still a great, powerful message. If we can reduce that even a little bit, that they're not renting and buying kids, that's a victory.
So Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has accused this agency, and particularly this department, of housing migrants in what she calls concentration camps. Do you think that's an inappropriate comparison for the Congresswoman to make?
It's completely inappropriate. It's reckless, it's irresponsible, it's misinformed, and it's flat out wrong. I urge people that there is so much oversight in these facilities. We have IG report after IG report. We have non-government organization NGOs that are constantly providing double check on that, which we should. I encourage the check and balance. I encourage inspections, and I'm very feel very satisfied that if you go to these facilities, whether it's a Border Patrol facility, an HHS facility, or an ICE facility, that they will be safe and adequate conditions to detain individuals, except for the one exception that I would make is the Border Patrol facilities. They're designed for adults. They're not designed for kids. So regardless of where you fall on the immigration issue, the law right now says if you come here as an unaccompanied kid, you're allowed in the United States. They should not be in Border Patrol facilities. That's why we need Congress, in part, to pass that supplemental bill to get those kids out of Border Patrol stations into more adequate facilities run by HSS. And Congress has sat on their hands for weeks and have not done that.
Tell us what resources you need from Congress in order to act upon, not particularly on that, but with ICE in particular and the bed space, because I know that is an issue that affects your agency.
That's right, and it affects, actually it's a domino effect. So Border Patrol right now, their capacity is 4,000, and it fluctuates, but they're anywhere between 16,000 and 19,000. They have a couple of thousand kids in there, you know, anywhere between 6,000 to 8,000 adults. They're beyond their breaking point. And ICE, we're full too. We have 53,000 right now in detention. We were funded for 45. We're at the breaking point too. HSS, same.
What are the consequences of having less bed space? Lay that out for Americans.
It's simple. We release people into the interior United States. Right now, if we cannot take custody of the individuals that the Border Patrol has, they're going to have to start releasing adults into the interior United States. So, and that's very important because they're already releasing families, they're already releasing unaccompanied children, and if they start releasing single adults, the border is wide open. That should be a concern to every American citizen.
At part of your purview, your mandate is immigration enforcement. How have you one of the reasons that the president picked you is because he viewed you as a tougher choice. How have you ratcheted up immigration enforcement in this country, absent the operation that the president announced on Monday evening?
So this is what I say. I'm not really doing anything different than ICE, the brave men and women that sacrifice a lot. We're not really doing anything different than they haven't done. What we have now, though, is a president who made it clear that he wants to maintain the integrity of the system and enforce the rule of law. And so what we've done now, the political will has been challenged with respect to making sure that we apply the law and enforce the law to all demographics. And that includes families. So if you've received due process and you have a final order of removal, if you're here illegally, you should be removed, and that is what we're really going to take a look at hard.
The United States Department of State announced on Monday, they said that they will be cutting aid to Central American countries contingent upon seeing action from those countries in the next fiscal year. Is that a decision that you think will hurt or help immigration enforcement in this country?
So look, I'm not going to weigh in again on a political decision that's made at the highest levels of this government. From a law enforcement perspective, though, what I will tell you is that we have tried working with the governments in the Northern Triangle countries for a long time. We've given a lot of money, we're working with them, and we're continuing to work with them, which we should. But what have we seen? We've seen the numbers get worse. They are on the sidelines as well as Mexico. So I think we need to take a look at all options for them to get on the playing field and be true partners with us. So I'm hoping that we do some things that will get them in the game.
Is there any reason that Mexico cannot sign a safe third country agreement? It's something that they have resisted in negotiations with our government.
There's, from the knowledge that I know, there's absolutely no reason why they can't sign the safe third agreement.
And so it seems that they just simply don't want to do it, and that is what has hamstrung U.S. policy at the border. Is that correct?
So again, I haven't been in those discussions, but what I can tell you, if a safe third country agreement is signed, it's another game changer. It will force Mexico, again, to remain on the field and not on the sidelines, to when people come, that they have to claim asylum in Mexico, or at least wait in Mexico while they're claiming asylum in this country. It will be another game changer.
Under the Obama administration, the mandate of this agency was the priority of removal of only criminals. What remains the mandate from the Trump administration today, and how do you interpret that mandate when you go about your job?
So again, it's been very clear is that no category, no demographic of individuals that are here illegally in violation of federal immigration law is exempt. We still have priorities, and you will see that. American people will see that. Going after and making sure we're removing the baddest, the worst of the worst criminals, we're always going to be our priority. That will still be our highest numbers. But we can't prioritize those at the exclusion of every other demographic. And again, if we focus on like families, for example, what's going to be powerful is we're going to send the message to the Northern Triangle countries that if you come here, eventually you will still be removed if you're here illegally. The hope is we're going to de-incentivize them from coming here, and you're going to see the numbers come down. That's in the best interest in this country, and with all due respect, my message to American people, that's in the best interest of the immigrants that are paying a lot of money to make the cartels rich, risking their lives, the lives of their children, to make this dangerous trek to come here. We'll hope we're sending the right signal by doing that.
Final question for you, sir. Many of the Democratic candidates who are running to replace President Trump, they've criticized this agency. They've accused it of taking criminal action. They've criticized this administration. Does that hurt your ability to do your job, and does it hurt the morale of your agency?
It hurts the morale, but it does not influence our ability. In fact, it's just the opposite. We should have no congressional influence on doing our job. Again, I go very simple. You're either here in violation of federal immigration law. If you are, then ICE should enforce its statutory mandated responsibility against anyone who is here illegally. Where it does hurt us, though, is the pocketbook. So it's very frustrating when Congress, they could act to end this crisis. They could fix TVPRA, the floor settlement agreement, and adjust a credible fear. If they did those things, that's a legislative fix for them. This will absolutely end this crisis. But they failed to do their job. They failed to protect this country. And then when the law enforcement agency that is entrusted to carry out the laws that they enacted, then they vilify us and they vilify ICE instead of doing their job. It's irresponsible, and we need the American people to reach out to their senators, to reach out to their representatives and say, if you want the law changed, do it. But don't vilify the agency that is enforcing the laws that are on the books right now.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, sir. We really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.